Looking to reward yourself or someone you love with a sweet treat? Well, I have something for you. Hi, I'm Kwaheri. Na leo tunapika raspberry cinnamon rolls. The first set of ingredients we're going to need is melted and salted butter, some granulated sugar, 1 egg, lukewarm milk, it should be lukewarm, not hot or cold, all-purpose flour, and some active dry yeast. As I've said, the milk should be lukewarm. Reason being, we are working with yeast, which is a live organism. I don't know whether you guys remember from biology, there's the right temperature in which the live organism can be activated. So if it's too cold, nothing will happen. If it's too hot, you'll kill it. So it just needs to be lukewarm, finger touch warm. So that's the milk. Then I'm going to add in my sugar. So again, it's a live organism, so it will feed off the sugar that will help it rise. So that's the sugar inside. Then just give it a quick stir. Then finally our yeast. So I'm using 1.5 teaspoons for this recipe. Just sprinkle it over the surface of the milk, and then we let it proof for about 10 minutes. You'll know it's proofed when it's sort of bubbly and foamy at the top. If it doesn't do that, it means that your yeast is either too old, so use another pack. So after the 10 minutes of proofing, give it a stir. Then now you go in with the rest of the ingredients. So your butter, it's been sitting on the counter for a bit too long. Yes, and then since the milk was just lukewarm, don't be scared to add the egg. The egg won't cook. So, and in goes the egg. Give that a stir. You can flavor with a teaspoon of vanilla essence if you want, but I normally don't. Then once you give that a stir, gradually go in with the flour. So these are 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So you just want it incorporated, then you'll start working with your hands where we'll get to kneading. So on a clean surface, lightly dust with some flour, then transfer your dough there. Don't worry. Once you get to kneading, it will come together very nicely. Have some little flour on the side to help you with the kneading. I haven't put the amount because it depends on a lot, maybe how humid the weather of where you are is and all that, but it's not quite a lot. So now we get to kneading. Since these cinnamon rolls are a type of like a bread, you need to knead the dough for quite some time so that you work the gluten in the flour. So essentially, a good knead is anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes. Sweet spot being maybe the 10-minute mark. So just be patient with yourself. As you see right now, the dough is pretty sticky, not cohesive, but when you keep kneading, it will come together. Just be sure when you're dusting with the flour, don't overdo it, because you may end up having too much flour, which is not what we want. So this is the kneading action. So you pull it, bring it back, pull it, bring it back, using the heel of your palm. So yeah, so I usually like trying to do the interchangeably like this, sort of forming a routine. Yeah, so we'll do this for 10 minutes, then we'll be ready for the next step. So it's been 10 minutes of kneading. Look at how the dough looks all combined. My hands even look clean, and yet I haven't washed them. So the bowl, I've cleaned the bowl. Just lightly grease it with some melted butter. Then put the dough, ensure the dough is coated, and then we're going to cover with a kitchen towel. Put this in a warm place where there is no wind. Let it rise for an hour. Yeah, that's how it looks like now. See you in an hour. So now, for the next part, we're going to need softened and salted butter, brown sugar and ground cinnamon, raspberries, and our dough that has been rising. Look, have you seen the change in size? So we'll start with combining the brown sugar and the cinnamon. So just using a spoon, ensure they're all mixed up together, because we're going to sprinkle this onto the dough. So once you mix that, you place that aside. Then you take our dough, I'm going to just lightly flour my surface, very lightly. Just lightly. Try to make it into a rectangle with your hands before going in with the rolling pin, because you want it into a rectangle shape. And then now we roll it out. This recipe yields around 12 cinnamon rolls. If you want more, you can double the recipe. I've done that before and it has worked perfectly fine. So here we just roll out, just trying to ensure it's an equal, you see the way it's stretching because of the yeast, and the dough has well rested. So you want to roll it until it's sort of 1/4 of an inch thick. Don't want it too thin. Then next step, after rolling it thin, is going in with a softened butter. We are going to just apply it. Just using your hands, ensure your hands are clean. Just, yeah. Rub the butter generously onto it. Sure that every part of the dough has the softened butter. Okay, once that is done, we go in with our cinnamon and brown sugar mixture. So here I'm just using a spoon. So get to the edges, especially on the short side. You don't want any part missing the cinnamon goodness. So now you see why even the recipe doesn't call for a lot of sugar, because we are going, this filling has sugar and it has quite an amount. So try to be more even than I. These are the seams where I'll be folding over, that's why I haven't put there. Finally, I go in with the raspberries. Not too many. So now we are going to roll up the dough. So I'll start from this end, gently. Just do it so ever so gently, and also try to tighten as you go. Then I've brought this seam here just to close off everything. Then here it is, all rolled up, one huge log. Prepare your tin. This is a, I think, 12-inch round tin. There'll be some left over, but this one usually holds around 8 of them. So just grease your tin, grease the surface and the sides of the tin nicely, because when we cut, we'll place them there. And then this is how I normally cut. I take the knife, the middle. I like using a serrated knife, bread knife, so that it doesn't exert so much pressure. So I align them like that. Then using the knife, that's the thickness I go for. So just, I'm putting the markings. I'll go back to slice later on. And then don't worry about the ends. Even though they don't have much filling, don't toss them. We'll just bake them in another tin. So let's do this. So you lift, putting it there. We are putting it in the tin. So these are the ones that have managed to fit in my pan. I think I rolled out a bit too thin today. So we'll cover, let this rise for another 45 minutes. So the only downside of this recipe is the waiting time. Now this is after 1 hour or so of rising. Look how they filled up. Ensure your oven is preheating at 80 degrees. Now we're going to put this in the oven, let it bake between 25 to 30 minutes until they are nicely browned on top. Then we'll make the glaze and we'll be ready to enjoy them. Here are the cinnamon rolls, fresh out of the oven. Next, we're going to make a simple glaze because no cinnamon roll is complete without a glaze. It's a cream cheese frosting glaze. So we'll need some unsalted butter, room temperature. Same case to the cream cheese, also room temperature. Then I'm going to add juice of 1 lemon. So using just this spoon, but if you have a handheld whisk, you can use that. So we're going to mix this until incorporated. Then we'll add the icing sugar. So now the butter, the cream cheese and the lemon juice all incorporated. Gradually add in our icing sugar, add and mix, and then we want the glaze to have a sort of dripping consistency. So I have some milk over here that I'll use to make it light. So first I'm incorporating this, the rest of the icing sugar. So this is a cup of icing sugar. The measurements will be in the recipe in the blog. So yeah, the icing sugar has been incorporated. So you see our glaze, we just need about a tablespoon or so of milk to just lighten it. Be careful not to overdo it. That looks like about a tablespoon. Yes, that's how you want it to be. Dripping consistency, but not too light. So bring back a bit hot. So you do this when the cinnamon rolls are warm so that it even seeps through. So yes, so we're going to drizzle. So it will seep into. You can even use your spoon to spread it all over. These things are so indulgent. Yeah, those special treats. Maybe you want to reward yourself after maybe doing something, maybe achieving your goals after the first quarter of the year. This is what you use. This is what you make for yourself. Yeah. So I'll give it like 5 minutes for it to settle in. Then I need to cool down a bit because it's a bit still hot-ish. Then we'll give it a taste. Now the fun part, tasting our cinnamon rolls. So I'm going to use a fork and knife to try and pry one. There you have it. Look how well it's baked. You can see the bread has baked. So let's give this a taste. Delicious. What I love about this recipe is the fact that there's that sweetness from the frosting, the bread itself, the tartness from the raspberries, and of course the taste of cinnamon, which cannot be ignored. Just amazing. They work perfectly together to just give you this perfect dessert, perfect cheat meal after a quarter. Anyway, so raspberry cinnamon rolls. For the recipe, check the link in the description bar. Otherwise, from me, Kwaheri.